This is how to sell to every single different type of race in direct sales. So direct Zoom calls is my expertise. That's what I've been doing for the last 3 years. The way that you sell to white people is a large level of trust, establish credibility, show proof that your product actually works. Listen to all of their problems. Just sit, listen to their problems, and then tell them why your product is amazing and why we've helped X, Y, and Z exact person in your position go from A to B, just like you want to. That goes for every client, but specifically for white people, they want people to listen to their woes, their problems, their worries. They want people to be exactly like them as well. They want to buy from people that are like them. So if they're liberal, be liberal. If they're right wing, be right wing. That's what they want. How to sell to black people? Again, from my experience, you need to like hype them up. You need to feed their ego. You need to talk about entrepreneurship. You need to talk about family legacy. You need to talk about generational wealth. You need to talk about passive income. You need to talk about all these entrepreneurial things and really make them feel as though they understand things and make them build them up, really. And again, I don't really care what people comment on this video. This is my direct experience. How to sell to Indians. You want to really take them seriously as a client. So you want to really listen to them, listen to their issues, listen to their ideas that they have for you. Like they're the type to give their opinion. And sometimes they actually have good opinions, right? So you can actually put it to use and you can use it to your benefit. But really take them seriously, because the typical thing on these Zoom calls and like in the industry that I'm in, people don't really take them seriously, right? They treat them as second class leads when they're actually not, right? Indians are some of the hardest workers that I know, right? So take them really seriously, treat them as a serious client, and then figure out a way to give them a deal. So you can't just give them a deal to give them a deal, because otherwise they're going to keep pushing for more and more and more. But if you can figure out a way to give them a little bit of a deal to get them over the line, they typically go for that, right? That's Indians. Asians, so like specifically Koreans, Chinese, Japanese, very similar to white people in terms of how they buy. They want credibility, they want calmness, they want you to slow down and really explain everything meticulously for them. And they want everything to be thought of, right? They want to feel as though they're working with the person who has really dotted every I and crossed every T. Not even necessarily credibility like white people. Like white people want something proven that they can just plug into. But from my experience, Asians will trust people a lot more. They will trust how you operate. They will trust how you run your business and how you explain things. And they appreciate when you take the time to explain things and explain how your product works. Also very family orientated, very focused on family. They're similar to black people in that way. Like they'll do anything for their family, their legacy, their name, this kind of thing. So I sell into a lot of that with Asian people as well. This is a pretty risky video, but I don't really care. This is my experience. This is the truth. And I personally don't judge. I actually don't judge anything. I don't judge race or anything like that. I don't really care about any of that shit. I just want to make my money and help my family. And I hope that this helped people that are also in sales. This is how to sell to every single race on earth, part 2. Specifically, this is going to be about Arabs, Latinos, and we have one bonus race at the end. Arabs are probably the most meticulous buyers I have personally dealt with in my field. They want every single piece of information before going ahead, making a purchase and buying. And this is a compliment to them. They want to know the structure of your business. They want to know the inner workings. They want to know how you're making money from them as well. So you need to sit and explain why it's a win-win situation when they buy your product, and they really, really appreciate that. They appreciate being part of the business and being in on the deal and understanding the deal. Also, their family is usually so connected. They always have an uncle that has made a bunch of money, or they have a cousin that's doing this or doing that, and they can genuinely get a deal. They have leverage over you in that way. Latinos, I have a really good time with Latinos because I'm Irish, but the way that you want to sell to them, they're very God orientated. They're Catholics. That's why I have a good time with them, because I'm Irish and I just relate to them in that way. but they always put their trust in God. They always see things that happen in their life as a sign from God, as God is putting them on this track. And I sell very heavily into that. They're explaining why they're interested in your product, and they're explaining all the bad things that have happened to them over the last year that's led up to them wanting to buy this product. You can sell into the saying that it was God's plan and he's basically led you here today to buy this product. The final bonus race that I was talking about is a question I got is, what if somebody is mixed race? This is probably going to be the most interesting topic I'll talk about in this call. If someone is mixed raced, you typically want to sell to their dad's race. Now, obviously it's a different story if they're a single parent household or something like that, but typically the majority of the world isn't, right? So you want to sell to what their dad's race is. So if their mother is white and their dad is black, you typically want to sell this a similar way that you would sell to black people. Vice versa, if the mother is black, their dad is white, you probably want to sell to how you sell to white people. And then to take that a step further, typically the culture that dominates is never white. It's, if somebody is Asian and white, they typically are culturally a little bit more Asian, let's be honest. If somebody is black and white, they're typically culturally more black. And in general, I will typically lean toward that. So that's all races part 2. Let me know if I'm missing any others. This is how to sell to the United States of America in comparison to the UK, Ireland, and the rest of Europe. How to sell to the UK, Ireland, rest of Europe. They want their issue solved for the lowest price like any buyer, but they don't mind if they're getting way less value as long as they're paying the lowest price for the product that they're trying to buy. The UK, Ireland, Europe in general have a more scarce mindset than US leads. They want the lowest amount of risk. They want the lowest barrier to entry. They want it to always be experimental and just make sure that they're not spending too much money, but still moving toward the direction of solving whatever problem that they have. So the way that you want to sell into them is that, this is just the beginning. This is the lowest tier package that you're coming in on. This is the best deal that you can get. The other reason that you want to do this is because a stark difference between the UK and the USA in general is the access to credit and financing. People in the UK are always going to pay on a debit card. They're always going to pay out of their bank account. Whereas with the USA, which I'm going to get onto now, they typically pay for everything on credit cards. So that's the difference. And you need to keep that in mind when you're selling a high priced product. You need to know what's in the UK person or European person's bank account, because that's all that they can actually pay you. With the USA, they have the opposite of a scarce mindset. Excuse me, I was just interrupted I was actually closing a deal right now with a USA lead, and she just came back after paying. So now we're finished the call. How to sell to USA leads. They have the opposite of a scarce mindset. They have an abundance mindset, which is probably a term you've heard. The reason for that is because everything is so available and widely accessible to them. I'm pretty sure you can get a credit card in America at a very young age, maybe 18 plus or 21 plus. I don't know what age, but they have access to money that they haven't ultimately earned, right? So it's much, much easier to spend and just spend on a credit card on high priced products because they haven't actually earned that money. And furthermore, they just have an abundance mindset. They're all always trying to support each other. So that's the way that you want to sell into it. You want to sell into, this is the best product, right? Yeah, it's the highest priced product, but it's the best one, right? You're the type of person that wants a higher priced product. You're the type of person that, spends money. You're not a cheap person. You'll spend money, but it's got to be worth it, right? Like you want the best, highest tier product. So that's the differences that I've seen with the UK and the USA. This isn't really a risky video. Maybe the UK, Irish, European people might take a bit of offense to it. But if you use this, it's going to massively help out. UK, European, you're selling them the lowest experimental product. USA, they want the best of the best and they don't mind paying. And again, they have access to credit, they have access to financing. So you can typically charge higher prices. Bonus piece of information, if you want to make your life easier, sell to the USA. The USA is the financial powerhouse currently of the world, as well as China, but I don't speak Chinese. And if you want to make your life as easy as possible, probably sell to the USA.